Okay, testing 1, 2, 3. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Marrica. If you're new here, I am a content photographer, content creator, and a new mom. So if you're interested in any of those topics, make sure you hit the subscribe button where I drop new videos every Monday. So today I wanted to share with you guys that I started a book club. Yes, I know. Why am I starting new things with everything going on in my life? Because that's just what I do. So I started a book club because my goal this year is to read 30 books. And one of the books that I already read this year so far is called The 4 Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. This book talks about different personality profiles on how we handle expectations. There are some people who are able to meet inner expectations and outer expectations. Some are only able to meet outer expectations. Some only meet inner, and some don't meet either. I am one of those people who do not meet inner expectations, but I do meet outer expectations. So if I set a goal for myself, I have to tie it to some outside source in order for me to get it done. So for example, I'm very successful at being a photographer because my clients depend on me to edit the pictures, get them back to them on time. So I am sure that I do that because they're expecting that of me. However, if I say I want to work out more, if I don't pay for a trainer, if I don't pay for a class, most likely I'm not going to do it. So that's why I started a book club, because in order for me to read more books, I need to be held accountable. So I started a book club so you guys can read with me, but also to just hold me accountable on my book goal for this year. My book goal for this year is 30 books. I think that's a good number to start with. I listen to and read books in different formats. I think I'll be able to hit that number. I like to listen to like self-help books on Audible, and I'm able to do that while cleaning up the house, putting Ray to sleep, just in the morning, getting my day started. I just pop in my earpods and I'm able to just listen to a book. I also read books on my e-reader, which I have right here. This is my Kindle Paperwhite e-reader, and I love it so much. It's so lightweight. I could just throw it in my purse, keep it by my bedside, and I could just grab it and read on this. And you're probably wondering, why do you read on this and not just read on your phone? Because my phone can be distracting. You get notifications for different stuff. You can easily just switch over to Instagram or Twitter. And sometimes when I just want to be focused on reading, I like to just have a device that only allows me to do just that, just read. So I love this, and I'm able to take it on the go. And one thing that I like about it is that it does sync with my phone. So if I don't have this, but I'm like really into a book and I want to keep reading it, I can keep reading and start on the page that I left off here. It'll tell me on here, and I can just keep reading. There's always the old-fashioned way of just buying a book, cracking it open, and turning the pages. So I definitely want to get back into physically reading books as well, because I used to do it so much when I was a kid. I was like an avid reader. I was actually in the paper one time shopping at the Scholastic list. Y'all know that bookstore thing y'all had at school. I'll put the word right here because I don't know how to say it. But that, book fair that they used to have at school, I was in the paper because I was there shopping at the book fair. So that's how much I used to love books. I used to borrow books from the library when I was a kid. I used to hang out at the library after school as a kid. I just loved reading. So I want to get back to that. So today I decided to share with you guys my top 10 books that I want to read this year. The first book I want to read is The Midnight Library by Matt. I don't know how to say his last name, but I've heard so many great things about this book. I heard that it gets you thinking kind of about your life. I haven't even really read the synopsis of it. It just comes so highly recommended. Even his other book, How to Stop Time, comes highly recommended, but I wanted to start with this one. This is one of the books that I definitely want to read this year, so I bought the physical copy of it, and I hope that I love it as much as people talk about it. The next book that I want to read is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. So this book, I heard that this book will make you cry. So I will have to give y'all an update on that. I have not cried on very many books. Only book I ever cried on was Fault in Our Stars, and that book was so good. Like, I literally read it in like 2 or 3 days, I think, and then I went and watched the movie, and I was like, the movie is just not, it's not doing what it needs to do. Like, the book was way better than the movie. So if you haven't read Fault in Our Stars, if you want a good cry, be sure to read that book. It's really good. But apparently this book is supposed to make me cry. And Colleen Hoover is a very popular, a lot of people read her books. She has a lot of different books. I keep seeing her name pop up on BookTok or Book Instagram. All of the avid book readers highly recommend her. So this is one of the popular reads for her this year. So I definitely want to check it out. Another book by the same author that I want to read is called Viridity by Colleen Hoover. I don't have it. I haven't purchased it yet. I'm trying to limit how many books I buy versus how many I've read. You know, that book I really want to read because I have no idea what it's about, but everybody who, the way it's suggested is intriguing. They're like, ooh, I know everybody talk about this book from her, but you need to read this book. It's like, I guess it has a different vibe than what she normally writes about, and it seems to keep you on edge the way people describe it. So I definitely want to read Viridity after I read this one, because I already purchased this one. But Viridity, it even has like a dark black book cover, so it seems like very intriguing, very deep, dark, mysterious type of book. I don't know. I don't even know the genre. I'm just basing it off the cover. Next book I want to read is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. So I actually picked this book up at Target when I bought the Midnight Library book, but I told myself, you do not need to be buying both of these books, so which one do you really want? And the Midnight Library book I had been looking for a while, and when I went to Barnes & Noble they didn't have it, so I decided to pick up that one and put down the 7 Days in June. However, so many people DM me and was like, girl, I read 7 Days in June, that book is good. I couldn't put that book down. It is amazing. So I added it to my list. Definitely want to read it. I think it's like a love story of two people who like fell in love with each other like years ago, and then they meet up for like 1 week in June. 7 Days in June, get it? They meet for like 1 week, and they basically have that 1 week to figure out if they want to be together. I don't know, I'm probably jumbling the whole synopsis, but that's kind of the gist that I'm getting from the book. Definitely interested in reading that one, so I added it to the list, but I have not purchased it yet. Another book I want to read is The Alchemist. The Alchemist is a very, very, very popular read. Robert said he would read it with me next month. I have added that one to my book read list. I actually think I already purchased it before on my Kindle, on my e-reader, so I think I already have it, and so I look forward to reading that. They say it's like a life-changing book. Like, it's like one of those books that gets talked about just as much as like Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's like one of those books where everybody's like, you must read this in your lifetime. It'll change your life. It'll change the way you think, that type of thing. So I'm really excited to read that, and I already have it on my e-reader, so I'll definitely be reading it there. Another book that I want to read this year is Una Out of Order. So I actually just picked this book up at the Half Price bookstore just based on the cover. I was like, oh, that looks cool, and then I read the back of it, and it's basically about this girl, Una, on New Year's Eve at midnight. The clock struck 12, and she woke up when she was 32 years old, and then she was actually 19, and she woke up at 32, and then her body just keeps waking up at different ages of her life. So she wakes up at 32, and then she faints, and then she wakes up at 51. And so I felt like this was just like a really interesting story to read about a woman who keeps waking up at different stages in her life. So I thought that was really cool. So I'm really looking forward to reading this book, and I might read this one sooner rather than later because I just love the color. Isn't it like, the cover is just so cute and like interesting. It really grabbed my attention at the bookstore. The next thing I want to read is The Visible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I think that's how you say his name. This is a book that I saw on TikTok, and everybody who suggested it was like, oh my gosh, if you want a book that you cannot put down, read this book. I saw a few people say it wasn't as good, but the cover really intrigued me. It's like all black. I saw it at Barnes & Noble, and they had the book in like a different color, like red and blue, but like I want the black book. Like if I'm gonna buy the physical book, I want the black and gold one. I have no idea what it's about. It just, the cover intrigued me. What people had to say about it on TikTok intrigued me. It seems to be a book of a different genre that I normally wouldn't dive into. So I'm definitely interested in reading that, and I definitely want to expand my reading palette because I think I tend to gravitate to the same genre of books. Well, when I was a kid, I used to. But now that I'm an adult, I kind of want to expand my horizon. I don't want to just read self-help business books because I'm an entrepreneur. There's more to life than that. So I want to just hop into different genres, whether it's romance, whether it's fantasy, whether it's sci-fi, whether it's murder mystery, whatever. I kind of want to read a little bit of everything. And so I feel like this book isn't a book I would normally pick up, so that's why I added it to my list. The next book I want to read is... What's up, guys? So I'm here editing this video, and I noticed that I forgot to mention 10 books. I only mentioned 9, and one of those books that I mentioned, I decided it wasn't like worth being in my top 10 reads, so I decided to replace that book as well. I'm gonna give you guys 2 books here so I could give you a total of 10 for the video. So one book that I forgot to mention, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I actually started reading this book after I recorded this video, and oh my gosh, it is so freaking good. So the synopsis is basically this superstar, like Hollywood movie star. She reaches out to this publication firm saying like, I want to do an article with you guys. No, actually she didn't say that. She said that she wanted to be interviewed by this particular writer on their team. The writer on their team like wasn't their popular writer, so they were like, okay, why do you want her out of all the people? And she was like, I'm only gonna talk to her, so give me her or I'm not talking to nobody. So they send the girl, and the girl finds out that the superstar actually wants to write a book about herself and doesn't want to do an article with the publication company. So the whole book is her telling her life story to this girl, and her relationship with her 7 husbands that she had throughout her life. And man, this book is a page turner. You do not want to put it down. It is so freaking good, and I see why so many people have recommended it. I'm currently reading it on my Kindle right now. Every night whenever I get up to feed Ray, I'm grabbing my Kindle, I'm grabbing my phone so I can read my book because it's that good. The next book that I want to mention that I should have originally wrote on the list is The Silent Patient. This book, it just intrigued me so much. So apparently, actually, let me look it up right now while I'm sitting here so I can tell y'all. It's about this woman named Alicia whose life seemed to be perfect. She was a famous painter married to a famous fashion photographer. One evening, her husband came home late from a fashion shoot. Alicia shoots him 5 times in the face and then never speaks another word after. Alicia's refusal to talk or give any kind of explanation turns a domestic tragedy into something far grander, a mystery that captures the public's imagination and casts Alicia into notoriety. The price of her art skyrockets, and she, the silent patient, is hidden away from the tabloids in the spotlight. So the therapist, Theo, has awaited a long time for the opportunity to work with Alicia. He is determined to get her to talk and unravel the mystery of why she shot her husband. It takes him down a twisty path into his own motivations, a search for the truth that threatens to consume him. Don't that sound good? Those are the 2 books that I didn't mention in the video that I decided to go ahead and insert, because if I didn't, I would have only had 8 books, and it's a video about 10 books, right? So I just wanted to insert that clip for you guys. Back to the rest of the video. My 10th book that I want to read this year is actually a book that I had started last year and I never finished. It's called Crying in H Mart. I started it around the time Ray went into her sleep regression, so you know, that happened and I never got around to finishing it. So that is definitely a book I want to complete this year because the way that it started was really good. And I actually Robert found a YouTube video of the author and she was talking and I was like, who is this lady on this video? And he told me her name and I was like, oh my gosh, I had started a book that she wrote and I never finished it. So yeah, I definitely want to finish that book. It's about like her relationship with her mom, and I believe her mom ends up passing away in the book because she had cancer, but that's written in the synopsis, I believe. So Hopefully I didn't just give out a spoiler. I don't know. But it is a memoir about her life, so it's not a fiction book. It's a non-fiction because she wrote it about herself. So yeah, those are the top 10 books that I want to read this year. But I definitely want to dive into the book that we'll be reading in our book club for March. So the book that we'll be reading in our book club is The School for Good Mothers. So for February's book club, we read Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And this book started off really slow. And it got to the end and it started to pick up, and I feel like the story was great, but I wasn't very fond of the author's writing style. I feel like she just went into detail way too much where it wasn't really necessary, where it kind of dragged the story along in an unnecessary way. So I started reading this book before I announced it to everybody because I wanted to make sure it was good, because I feel like we came out of a book that was kind of a drag, so I wanted a book that could give us a little pick-me-up, and this book is so good. It's about a mom named Frida. She has a bad day, and basically her daughter gets taken away from her, and then she gets put into a school for good mothers, basically so they could teach her how to be a good mom. It's a really good book. It starts off strong. Literally on the first page, they call her and say, hey, your daughter's at the police station. So you hit the ground running right into the story. There's no dragging along. There's no unnecessary detail to the beginning. So this is what we'll be reading in March. If you're not a part of my book club, make sure you follow us on Instagram at StoryGang. I'll leave it here below so you can find it, and you can read this book with us in March. I'm super excited about it. I can't wait to discuss it. We are doing book discussions the last Thursday of every month. Super excited. I hope you join me along to read this book in March. If you're not already, make sure you are subscribed if you like this video, and comment below what books you want to read this year. I only gave you guys my top 10 because I didn't want to bore you, but I definitely want to get to 30 books. So far this year, I've listened to 3 books on Audible, read 2 physical books, so I'm 5 books in to my 30. And so far, my favorite book has been the Will Smith book. So if you haven't listened to the Will Smith book on Audible, I suggest you do so. Yes, it's really long, but it's worth it. You won't take your headphones out. You're going to want to listen to it. Will Smith has a way of just like telling a story. He incorporates music. He plays the piano. He cries a little bit. He makes you laugh. It's just a really good listen. So if you're looking for a book to listen to this month as well, I would suggest listening to the Will Smith book. Comment below what books you want to read this year, and make sure you join our book club at StoryGang. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you guys next Monday. Bye!